Hi everyone, got another instructive game fighting on from the 2013 British Chess Championships. We are still well within round 1, but we are getting to halfway through now, which is quite good because it's dragging a bit this series and I'm unlikely to finish it before I go away on the 5th of September, which is not good. I was hoping to finish it by then, so I have to do a lot of work. Maybe I'm showing too many games, but there's too many games that are interesting me, and plus I've got to make sure I do everyone at least once anyway. This game is anyway Martin Brown versus Simon Greely. Martin is 2203, Simon Greely is 2010. Ryan Brown's ECS is about 210, and I think Simon Greely is about 170. And 1e4 was chosen by White, which was Martin. G6, and we're going to see the hedgehog, which is, sorry, not the hedgehog, the hippopotamus, which is where against everything Black set thinking kills both his bishops, put the pawns on d6, e6, and puts his knights on d7 and e7. He also put the pawns on a6 and h6. So h4, h5 can be answered by g5, and a4, a5 can be answered by b5, keeping line shut. And it's a very slow game, usually happens, except this one. This one's not slow at all. So we get an Austrian attack set up where these three pawns on d4, e4, and f4, giving White a lot of space and preparing advances in the centre and kingside. Very aggressive line. So e6 is played, so we get this system set up. Martin just plays like normal Austrian attack moves. And now we see the point after a4 was played. a5 needs to be answered by b5, so a6 is played. Now rather than just like if you routinely develop the bishop, then this is annoying because now you can't play b5, and then White's going to play like a6 here, and like, which is quite annoying. So a6, knight back to e2, so White wants to play c3 perhaps, or maybe c4 and grab more space, as you're going to see. So White has this very intimidating looking centre, but Black's very solid. And one of the main advantages of the hippo is that a lot of players will overextend against it. So they'll just throw pawn after pawn after pawn. Got to try and sack pieces, they'll do everything, and it won't work, and Black will just play like one pawn move and hit them on break. And also you can play it with White as well. You play like e3, d3, g3, b3. There are players who do that. It's actually not as boring as it sounds as opening, so it does lead to some interesting games, but it's just a bit slow at the start. In fact, now we see the first advance back at White, finally c5. Black decides to abandon his basketball chess and actually decides to make some contact. Qe1 was played because Black's probably going to castle kingside, so White wants to manoeuvre his queen aggressively to h4, get fi in, get the bishops off, and sack mate. Knight c6 was played. d5, knight b4, because this square is now an outpost because both the a and c pawns have moved. Bishop goes back to b1. I mean, you might think it's a bad bishop, so you might as well just protect it instead, but it's potential to be a good bishop because the game could open up castles. And now d takes e6, which has the disadvantage of opening up Black's light square bishop, but it does create some weak pawns like the d6 pawn, for example. F takes e6. Maybe fi should be played in this position. And then say if efi, and if Black tries gfi, then just knight into g5 is very strong. That idea is like queen h4 and trying to mate knight e6. So Black probably shouldn't take the pawn, and maybe we should give his bishop up actually to reduce some of White's attacking forces. And then engage knight with tempo. In fact, one's a pawn actually, but White will get a lot of compensation with his bishop pair in this now very open position. It's gone from a very blocked position to a very open position, and in the hippo you have to be prepared for a sudden violent counter attack. I've never had to face it, thankfully, but it's not something I'd like to face. Knight g5 was tried instead. Queen e7 to protect the e6 pawn. Now the queen comes to g3 instead, which is interesting. Maybe ideas of bringing the queen to h3 or using the h4 square for his knight. The knight is kicked, goes back to f3, and now queen f6 is chosen, which cannot really be a very good move, putting the queen on the same file as the rook, because as I say, you shouldn't put your queen on the same file as the opposing rook. So all in all, that is a dubious move. And a much better move would be something like maybe Queen F7 to protect the G6 pawn, of course. But Queen F6 was chosen instead. Also, the Queen is potentially vulnerable to E5 at any point. Knight comes into H4, so that's why he put the Queen on G3, G5. Now Knight back, so White is provoked to weakness. G takes F4, Knight takes F4, and Black gets his nice E5 square. So a very interesting position there, it's very sharp. Where Black's now weak in his king position, but he's got a lot of activity for it. Now Knight H5 is chosen by White, which to try and get rid of Black's defensive bishop. And now Black just needs to move his queen to G6. And the queens will probably take a bath, or Knight takes G7 will be played. Queen takes G3, H takes G3, King takes G7, Knight E5, Rook F1, King F1, D E5. With an interesting ending where White has got two bishops, both sides have a lot of weak pawns, and Black's knight is very good and probably better than White's bishop. But the game could easily turn better for White's bishop, so all in all this will be an unclear position to play. And very interesting as well. Or White can play, instead of Queen G6, White can avoid the double pawns by taking Black's queen. Then take the bish. And then maybe something like A5. And then it's B8. B8 is probably best in this position. Rook A5. And after Knight F4, just give the bishop back to get rid of that knight. And again, it's about equal. Or some liquidation perhaps coming up. And chances are about even in this position. Instead, Knight takes F3 check is played, which is tempting, because if Rook takes F3, you've got Queen D4 check winning the C4 pawn. But the problem is the G pawn can take, and now this opens up the G file potentially. And in fact, Black plays Queen D4 check, which just allows the G file to be used with tempo. And now White is threatening Bishop takes H6, so Black had to move his king and hope for the best. But for some reason he blunders at Rook F7 and misses it completely. And now White is winning. Rook AF8 is played, which is actually even worse because Rook G1 is just a complete win on the spot. But instead Bishop takes G7 was played. And of course Rook takes G7 drops in exchange, so Black tried this in between move. But Rook takes F3 is actually the strongest in this position, but what he played is winning easily as well. Bishop takes D4 with check, and then Knight F6 check. Oh, actually no, he played Rook takes F8. King takes F8, and Knight takes G3. So, most actually the most efficient way of cleaning up, but after it all, White is going to be a rook up. So Black correctly threw in the towel. And I found that a very instructive game, that, because it's a very interesting opening with the headshot with Hippo. And it all like, I keep calling it the headshot by mistake. The headshot was a different line, by the way, not to be confused. They're quite similar though. And the Hippo is becoming very solid, but when Black plays violent moves to fight back, like in this game, then it gets very wild and tactical, and very sharp positions arise. And but it was quite a nice finish to that game there, with that starting off with G takes F3. And I hope you enjoyed the game, and please leave any comments and thoughts. Thanks very much.